Hey church, Pastor Shane here, another community group discussion starter video. This week we are now back into the book of Judges. We'll be doing that for a while, and as we move through it, we picked back up in the story of Gideon. And this week we talked about the fact that sometimes it's not just when we're feeling weak that kind of sin or temptation might get at us, but sometimes it's in our days of strength and victory. And so we looked at Gideon's story, how he kind of started off really hesitant, having trouble following God, very fearful, feeling very weak, and having trouble trusting in the Lord's strength, and how patient God was with Gideon over and over again. What encouragement that might be for us. And then God giving Gideon the victory, and then there being a change in Gideon, that he's not the same person. He doesn't seem to be clinging to God in the same way. And that story is probably highlighted by the fact that when they ask Gideon to be king, he says, "No, I'm not going to be your king." But then he goes and acts like a king would ask, and especially acts the way a king would act, very selfishly. And it kind of is troubling us that this would happen with Gideon, but I think it's that we are at risk for the same thing, that sometimes it is in our victory that we face temptation to sin. For a couple reasons. Either we think, hey, I deserve it. I deserve to do this small little sin. It's not going to cause a problem. Then it grows into a bigger problem over time. Or we have this issue with sin where it starts, we forget that even though God is the one that brought us here, he's not the one that kind of continues to help us as we grow and develop. And so we begin to act like it's all up to us. We put immense pressure on ourselves to achieve something in the Christian life. And really, it's God who's going to be working in us, and we should be clinging to him and asking for his help. Or the fact that sometimes when we get victory or are strengthened, we start getting a little bit of a big head. We have some ego, right? We think we're better than other people, and we think we're better than we actually are. And that could lead us to sin as well. And we talked about how to counter this, and it's two ways. One, to recognize the greatness of God, like to recognize him as the one who delivers us, who is strong. The way God showed Gideon in the battle. When God reduced Gideon's number to just 300 people, and yet had them help conquer an army of 120,000, right? God is great. His strength is good. He is the one that's going to drive us forward. And then the second part of that was to remember our need, that we never grow beyond our need for God. We never develop so much that we don't need God's help, and we don't need God working in our minds and our hearts, that we ever grow beyond that point of maturity. So my prayer is that you might talk about this. What are the ways that you could see yourself in a time of victory or strength? Maybe kind of what are the temptations that come at you? What are the ways that temptation manifests itself? And how do you live in such a way to kind of remind yourself of your need for God and just for God's goodness, and to recognize his greatness and his strength, both in our times of great weakness and in our times when we are feeling like things are going really well. I pray you have a great discussion.